Hi, I'm Michael Dresser and I teach a tool and a practice called the Wheel of Consent. So what do I mean by consent? Well, you may notice that when you hear a term like Wheel of Consent or hear the word consent, that it brings up some reactions in you. Consent is a term that can feel a bit difficult to get your head around sometimes. And that's partly because we're used to hearing about it often in terms connected with sex, so especially around rape and sexual assault. And mostly when we hear about it in this way, it's in terms of saying yes or saying no. But I think most of us understand that real life is rarely that simple. So, for example, when we think of yes and no, what we often mean by that is permission, which is one dynamic that the Wheel of Consent addresses. So an example might be, may I pick the apples off your tree? Yes, you may. I'm giving you permission to pick the apples off my tree. But there's another dynamic that we're all familiar with, but which we don't have a word for in quite the same way. So an example of this dynamic might be, will you bring me the apples from your tree? Yes, I will. So permission doesn't really come into this scenario. So I'm not giving you permission to bring you the apples. You're not giving me permission to bring the light. I can't even use the word permission in that context. There are lots of great definitions of consent, but here's mine, and it's based on the Wheel of Consent and these two different dynamics that I've just talked about. So my definition of consent is that true consent is not simply about one person saying yes or saying no, but it's about the agreement that gets made between two or more people about what will happen or what won't happen. And just as importantly, the understanding of who it's for. And being able to make clear agreements is a skill that goes way beyond the bedroom. And so this is why I often talk about consent as being actually a life skill. And you can find out lots more about how you can learn this life skill at my website.